Thank you, guys. I would say we gave that a pretty good amount of praise. And I know someone that also really likes to worship and has a pretty cool story. And I think that she might want to come up and share that with us. So I want to welcome Lydia Veenstra to the stage to share her story.
All right, is that good? All right. Hi guys, my name's Lydia Veenstra. I'm a sophomore here at Grand Valley, and I'm double majoring in finance and marketing, and I'm also on the worship team here at CM, so you may have seen me up there a few times. So my story kind of starts, I grew up in a Christian home, and I went to church every Sunday, and I went to Christian school from preschool through 8th grade. So I had a whole lot of head knowledge about who Jesus was and what he did, but I never really incorporated it into my life. So I was basically in this little bubble until I went to a public high school. And sophomore year, I got into a relationship that led me away from the Lord. I fell into sexual immorality in this relationship and eventually became addicted to sex because of it. And after that relationship ended, I felt so empty with my life, and I didn't have any community. So I fell into the partying crowd pretty much immediately. I began drinking and doing drugs to kind of fill this void in my life, and I found my worth in a lot of boys at the time as well, jumping from relationship to relationship, thinking there was something wrong with me because nothing in this world was fulfilling me. So I continued this pattern through my freshman year last year. I was still partying, drinking, smoking, still addicted to sex and masturbation. In the beginning of second semester, I went through a breakup, and again, I was faced with an emptiness and no sense of worth. And I was so frustrated with God, and I didn't understand why he was putting me through this over and over again. But then came spring break last year. I went on a trip with my family and my best friend, and on this trip, we decided to do devotions every day. So we started with the book of Ephesians, and while reading, I realized that I had never actually studied the Bible before, and I'd heard it in church, and I knew the big verses, but I had never taken the time to take it apart, read, and actually interpret it. And so if you've ever read Ephesians, you can imagine my mind was pretty blown when it was the first book I studied, because it tackled drinking, sobriety, sexual immorality, and what it just means to live your life for Jesus. And so I realized that day what I was doing was the complete opposite of what the Lord was calling me to do. I had one foot in the world and one foot in the Word, and I was strictly treating Jesus as the Savior in my life, but not the Lord over my life. So Ephesians and the Bible in general can often be seen as a book of rules, but as I got into the Word more and I understood God's voice more clearly, I came to the realization that God makes these rules and these guidelines not to hinder us, but to actually help us, and that he's protecting us from the emptiness, depression, and anxiety that comes from living how the world tells us to live, and giving us true freedom by living in him. So I decided to stop drinking that night, and I started to get into the Word every day, and I was determined to live my life with Jesus as the center. It was not perfect at first, and it definitely still is not. I struggled a lot with shame and guilt when it came to turning to Jesus. I felt unworthy to be his child. Over time, though, I learned that shame comes from the enemy, and I know that my identity has been made new in the overwhelming love and sacrifice of Jesus Christ. And his blood makes us new every day, and he doesn't ask for that perfection, but he only asks for a relationship with us. So with the help of Jesus, I've been able to overcome and find triumph over struggles of sexual immorality, sobriety, and self-worth. And over the last few months, I've never been more fulfilled than I am today, being all in for Jesus and his kingdom. And I cannot thank him enough for his abundant grace and sacrifice that has turned my life around, and that is why I worship.